The best piece of advice I have for someone trying to succeed in the film industry or any creative space is if you're doing what everyone else is doing, you're doing it wrong.
One of the best to ever do it.
What is freedom? I think I stole this from Bob Dylan, but maybe I stole this from Woody Guthrie. Freedom for me is waking up in the morning and going to sleep at night, and in between doing exactly what I want to do. What's the secret to happiness? The secret to happiness is finding something you love and then doing that for the rest of your life.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Site Review Tuesday. I'm Robert with Zenfolio Customer Success, and I want to say thank you for joining me. Now, here in a minute, we're going to get to reviewing one of your websites, and I do want to point out that while this has been pre-recorded, I'm hanging out in the chat, interacting with you guys live and answering your questions. Now, if you're interested in having your website reviewed, there's a link in the description below this video where you can submit your site. And in addition to getting a site review, I also offer a one-on-one session to each photographer who has had a site review done to help them answer any questions or assist in making any changes that they may want to make. Now, don't forget, we also live stream every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, so I hope to see you there. Let's get into the site review. All right, guys, here we are on irenebeckham.zenfolio.com, and we're just going to start this review here on the homepage. So the first thing I noticed, Irene, is that you're not using a custom URL. So if I drag this down really quick right here, it just says irenebeckham.zenfolio.com. Now, if you just haven't purchased a custom domain, I would definitely recommend doing that through somebody like GoDaddy and getting that pointed over to your Zenfolio site. However, if you have a custom domain and you're using a different website for like your main portfolio site or something like that, you can have this changed to match that with like a CNAME or something like that. So if you have a custom domain and you have it pointing to a different site, you can still set up a CNAME to point to your Zenfolio site. So when we get here, this could be like clients.irenebeckham.com rather than having the irenebeckham.zenfolio.com. And that's going to be good for your SEO, and it's just going to look better overall for your site. So something to think about there. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about here is that here on the homepage, this is just the display name. I'm not noticing a logo, but I definitely saw a logo later on when I was navigating into your site, and we'll get into that. Now, the other thing is you do have a slideshow here, and I paused it because I paused the soundtrack. So that's one thing to think about as well, is, you know, having the soundtrack. I mean, that's a personal preference, but to be honest, most people these days are usually listening to their own music when they're browsing the web, and 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to turn that soundtrack off. I know for me, the soundtrack kind of, not this one in particular, but soundtracks do tend to get on my nerves, and I usually just turn them off or mute them. So that's something to think about there. Because when I did that, it also paused the slideshow. I can actually turn it down here and then play the slideshow so you can see how this is working. And while you're kind of watching this slideshow, the other thing that I would point out too is you have this big gray bar down here at the bottom. Now, for this particular layout for your website, what this gray bar can do is if you go and you turn on your welcome message, so that's going to be under Customize View, Options, Page Elements, Welcome Message. If you set that to show, you can put a welcome message in here, and that is a really good place to let people know where you service, what area you're working out of, the type of photography you do, and all that right here on this homepage. Now, if you don't want to have that showing, I would definitely suggest going into Theme Designer and getting rid of this bottom overlay right here, because you can just make this color transparent and that whole bottom overlay will go away. Now, another thing too is on this homepage, you're using your homepage menu and homepage logo, and that kind of floats over the background image. So as you can see, sometimes it's cropping into the people's heads. And to prevent that, what you can do is turn the homepage menu, homepage logo off and actually show your site header, and that will push the images down and the images won't start until underneath the header. And the nice thing about using your site header on your homepage is that it will keep the navigation consistent across your entire website. So again, that's something to think about as well. But okay, so let's just jump in here onto your about page. So we're going to click here. And this is what I'm talking about. So the navigation changes. Now we're using your header. And here's your logo. That logo is a little small and getting subdued. Probably what I would do is go back into your header settings and start playing around with the size of the header. So if you have your logo set to auto scale, you can control the size of that logo by changing the size of your header and making it larger. Another thing that you want to do is add some horizontal padding to this and maybe a little bit of vertical padding so that this isn't so tight on the edge right up here to this. But you definitely want to get that logo a little bit bigger. It's kind of hard for me to hard to see and hard to read here. And also too, I would definitely suggest getting that, if you're going to keep this homepage menu, getting that logo up on your homepage as well right here. So that's going to be under, I think it's under options, and then homepage logo or something like that. All right, back to the about page. You've got a nice picture here, so it's nice to be able to see your face, see you smiling. You got a camera here. This is a great about photo, and then you just got a really short about text right here. It does let me know where you're from, so I mean that's not too bad. One site menu item in, and I already know where you're at, so that's not bad at all. You love what you do. You talk about the types of photos that you do. You can definitely put some more information in here as far as, you know, specific locations around Port Orchard if you service more of those locations. But this is not too bad. I mean, it's not a huge thing that I have to read. I think it gives quite enough information to really understand you. You guys know I'm a big advocate for video. I say this like every review, but having an about video on a custom about page is really going to let your clients connect to you and really get your personality to come across and let them know if you're somebody that they would enjoy working with or not. Now, if we scroll down, you have your footer showing here, and you guys can't see all of it, but the footer showing here, and it has the same exact menu as the header menu does. And I would probably turn this off if it were me. There's not really a reason to have this on here. It's a little bit redundant, and the page is not like a long scrolling page. So on this page particularly, I would probably turn that footer menu off just so it's not so redundant down there on the bottom. All right, so let's keep going. Let's go to view my photos. Now, when I clicked on this, I was kind of expecting this to be a portfolio, but this looks like this is how you're getting your clients to their photos. And so there's definitely a couple of things that we want to talk about in here. For one, this is your sports leagues group page. And you've got the folder icons here showing with the different years and all of that stuff, which is perfectly fine. I would probably change the layout of this a little bit. I'd probably make these grids or these folders a little bit larger, maybe even go ahead and select custom cover thumbnails for them. I would get rid of all of this stuff right up here, all of this information. There's not really a need for any of that to be showing. It's just kind of distracting. And I would definitely turn your guest book off for this, so that all this stuff doesn't show up. And I'd make sure to, you know, all of this stuff we don't need to see how many photos are in here. We really just need to see the year. And so that's what I would do for my group pages. I would change these up quite a bit and remove some of these distracting elements, put some custom cover photos on these years, and make these larger so that there's a little bit more to see here without all these distracting elements. Okay, that's what I would do. Now let's just click in here and check out one of these. And again, so this is another group page. It's going to have a lot of the same settings. All of that stuff that's distracting, we don't really need to know or need to see. I would remove all of that and really clean this up because we want to keep people focused into finding their photos. And so now I finally landed on a page where I can actually view the images, but these are client galleries, so they're password protected. So something to think about is, you know, if you're using this site for your main website where, you know, potential clients are coming, maybe you're sending schools here to kind of see your work. That was a lot of clicks to get to something that I can't even actually look at, because once I click on these, I'm going to have to enter a password, and I can't even see the images. So that's a lot of clicks for a visitor, a potential client, to get to be frustrated because now they can't even see your work. And what I feel like is really missing from your site is a portfolio section. So even if you're not using this website as your main website, it's still a public page that people can find. And you definitely want to have a portfolio section set up to make it easy for people to get to where they can go and browse through your work and see examples of your work. And this view my photos thing, I think this is probably set up for clients. Let's just keep looking here. So yeah, these are all going to be the same. So group page, and then you get to the actual gallery. So let's just keep going here really quick and see. Yeah, so most of these are looking the same. These are private, so some of these are private. I can't even get into them. So again, I would probably think about having a portfolio section set up and then calling this something like clients find your photos or something like that, if this is the route that you want to take. And there's definitely some things that you can do to kind of streamline this as well, clean this up, and a lot of different things you can do here. So that's something I would think about. But again, all of these pages showing that guest book and all of this other information up here, I would definitely probably make sure that that stuff is hidden so that there's just not all these distracting elements. Okay, let's go ahead and go to prepay order forms and just check this out. So this is probably pre-order. Let's just take a look really quick. Okay, so this is definitely pre-order, and you've done a nice job setting these up. But one thing I want you to notice is that I'm on your site right here, okay? And I hover over pre-order and I go here and it opens in the same tab and I lose your website's navigation. And this is not how you want it to work. Even though pre-order is a part of Zenfolio, it's more designed to be like a custom landing page, so it doesn't have any of your website's navigation here. So whenever you're linking to pre-order from your site, these should always open up in a new tab. So as a client, I don't have to use the back button like this. It should open like this. So that I have this tab and I have this tab, because we don't want people to lose that navigation up there. So that is how I would suggest having your pre-order open. But nice job having a pre-order drop down menu here with these different options here that people can choose from. So that's a good setup. Again, I would just make sure that you have those set up to open in new tabs. And I'm just going to test a few more of these and just to make sure that they're all working. And they all appear to be doing the same exact thing. So opening up in the same tab. I would definitely recommend going and changing that to all of those opening up in a new tab. All right, so search. So you have search here and you have search bar showing here. And let's see, you have search down here again in your footer. So if you're optimizing for search, it's perfectly fine to have search set up. If this is not something that you're optimizing, this is something that you want to remove from your site menu. So let's just go see what we can find under search. All right, so I'm not seeing anything if I search for portraits. Let's see, sports. All right, so there's a sports gallery. Let's see, let's just type in somebody's name. Let's see what's coming up here. Okay, so David, if we go in here, now we have to enter the password. So if you are optimizing for search and you're letting people come in here and search by their name or whatever to get to their gallery and enter their password, that's perfectly fine. You probably want to customize this a little bit. Maybe you don't want the photos and videos and collections and all that stuff to show. Maybe you just want them to be able to find their gallery and click on it. You can definitely customize this page. There's a lot of options you can do to change this page up and make it a little bit easier to use. But again, if that's not something that you want people to do, I would remove the search options. If you are not specifically setting up things to be searchable and that's not a route that you want clients to take, I would probably remove those options. So removing this and that from up here. Okay. All right, let's go check out your contact page really quick. And this is the built-in Zenfolio contact page, perfectly fine to use. You've got all of your social media stuff on here, and this is pretty standard, pretty easy to use. So definitely this works just fine. Let's check out your login page. All right, and this is going to be the login page where clients could go back and log in to view their favorite sets. So probably what I would do, since this is focused on clients and that is also for clients and not for visitors, I would probably create a client section and have the login or register button inside of that, and then also have these other galleries and groups that they could click on all under one section so that people can clearly identify that that section is for existing clients. Now, I noticed that you have your guest book showing right here. This is something that's clickable, and the last guest book entry is on the 30th of March 2019. And what that is it's a link to a website. Now, I don't know if this is something that's legit or not. I'm not going to click on it. But if you want to use the guest book, that is perfectly fine if you want to. I prefer to turn it off. Not many people use the guest book. It's kind of a 1990s term. I prefer turning it off. But if you want to use it, that's fine. You just want to make sure that you have it set up so that people can't just come on here and post whatever they want. You want to make sure that public posts are required to be approved by you before they're actually seen by visitors. Because if you don't, I've seen this happen time and time again. People come into your guest book and they start spamming it with links to their website or just a bunch of crazy nonsense that doesn't make sense, and it becomes a headache to deal with, and it becomes a little embarrassing when your visitors are going there and they're seeing a bunch of nonsense that doesn't make sense. I've seen some pretty crazy stuff put on people's guest books before, and so that's why, as a whole, usually I recommend just removing that option entirely. But if it's something that you want to use, if it's something that you like, you just want to make sure that you have it to where public post must be approved by you. The other thing is, I see in here where somebody commented they love somebody's photos. How can I purchase these? Well, if this comment was publicly posted, you might have not got a notification. I'm not sure if you do or not, but if you had to approve this comment, then you would definitely see the notification and you could get back to this user here. So again, just my personal preference on guest books. I usually recommend removing them, turning them off, hiding all those options. But if you're going to leave it on, make sure that you have the public comment set up to be approved. Okay. All right. So next, let's go ahead. And so when I came to this page right here, when I went from your home page to view anything, I noticed that we got this home button now on your site menu. And if I click that, this is not actually taking me back to your home page. This is taking me back to, this says portfolio. And what this looks like is, it looks like the images that are being used on your homepage slideshow. And if that's the case, maybe you want to set this up as a portfolio menu item so that people can clearly click on it and browse through your portfolio. But you're definitely going to want to make some changes here if that's the case. For one, we don't really want the favorites feature showing on portfolios. There's not really a reason for people to come in and favorite your portfolio images. Also, too, you're using a square grid on this portfolio, and that's going to crop your images. As you can see here, it's cropping the photos and doesn't really present the images in their best format. The other thing as well is we're using what's called pagination down here. I think I said it right. You guys can make fun of me if I didn't. But it's using what's called pagination down here, and that means that rather than viewing everything on a continuously scrolling page, you have to click through and view the different pages. So I have to go here and view the next page and view the next page. And what I would recommend is turning that off, changing this grid to be a dynamic grid so that these images appear in their actual aspect ratio. It's going to be a lot cleaner presentation, and then turning these favorites options off so they don't show there when they're hovered. Now, again, I say this a lot, but you have the tweet and the like button here. If you're going to have that stuff set to show, call in some favorites from some friends and ask them to go like this so that when people show up here, they don't see no likes on this page here, and they may maybe start to wonder. So I would either turn this off or call in a few favorites, have some people come in here and hit that like button for you so that this doesn't say 0 right here on the page. All right. Also, too, like I said, just making sure that you change this grid up. The square grid is definitely not the best presentation that you want to show your images. I would definitely go with like a grid A or grid B, which are more dynamic and presented a lot better. What do you guys think in chat? Do you guys like the square grid? Definitely the square grid has some places that the use is okay, but my personal preference is I would rather these images show in their actual aspect ratio, and for that reason I usually use the dynamic grid A or grid B. Let me know what you guys think about that in chat. Okay, overall, one of the things that I have seen that's really nice is you're using the consistent theme. Your colors are staying the same. Now, I'm noticing that the colors that you have here seem unrelated to what you're using in your logo here, and I would definitely consider thinking about your brand consistency and making sure that you incorporate some of the colors that you have on your logo here to the rest of your website as well, just making it consistent. What I really feel like is lacking in your site here is a really good portfolio section. So there's not really any kind of clear indication of where I need to go to view your work. As far as a portfolio section, this confuses me because of the title, and then I'm getting here and I'm seeing stuff that I actually can't go in and see because it requires a password. So I would definitely recommend having a portfolio section, having this set up to say clients, putting that login link under here, and then making sure that your pre-orders open up in a new tab so that we don't lose the website navigation. And then making sure that if you are want people to use search, that's perfectly fine. Go in and clean up that search page a little bit, make it a little easier to navigate. Or if you're not wanting people to use search, if that's not something that you're optimizing for, removing that option and removing it from here. And then just making sure that you are paying attention to pages that have the redundant site menu at the bottom, and just turning that footer off if you don't think it's necessary, which in most cases I usually don't think it's necessary to have that repeated at the bottom, unless you have a gallery that has a lot of images, and then it's nice to have that at the bottom. But hey, Irene, thank you so much for submitting your site to be reviewed. I really appreciate it. You've got some beautiful work in here. Your photos are absolutely gorgeous. Just those few things that I mentioned to really clean this up. What I would say is most important is getting this navigation cleaned up so that it makes sense. There's a portfolio, there's a client section, and then setting these up to open up in that new tab like I was mentioning. But again, thank you so much, and I hope this review was helpful to you. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching that site review. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure that you click that subscribe button and hit the little bell icon so you get notified when we post videos and when we go live. Now, if you're interested in having your site reviewed, there's a link in the description below this video where you can submit your website for that. And in addition to getting a site review, you're also going to get a link where you can schedule a session with me. We're going to go over your website, go over the review. I'll answer any questions that you have and help you make any changes that you're interested in making. So the link to sign up for that is in the description below this video. Now, don't forget, Zenfolio Live coming up this Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Hope to see you guys there. Until then, I hope you have a great week.